Hello, we are live. Hello this evening. My name is Sandra Jennings, and this is Passion Speak, where we give those with a passion a platform to speak. Thank you so much for watching this evening, and please feel free to share if you like to anyone who may be interested in our topic. And I am very excited and I'm honored to bring to you the next guest. And I'm not one who likes to talk a lot about credentials. I'll say that repeatedly, but this person's credentials speaks highly. She is an Emmy award winning author and artist and producer and CEO. She's a best selling author of 5 books. You can go to Amazon and find her. She is the CEO of Edu Marketing, and she has a concentrated mastermind to mortgage professionals all the way from the West Coast. And it's probably rush hour time for her right now. And Ginger, I'm going to bring you in. Hello.
Hello, Sandra. Thank you so much for having me on Passion Speak. I'm excited to see you virtually during our rush hour. Yeah, I'm coming from Portland, Oregon today.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, she wrote a book with Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield. Both of those people, I love their books. And I'm like, how did I get so special? But I appreciate you coming in and talking to us. You've got a lot going on. You got some conferences coming up. You're going to be in Michigan. You got a conference coming up in November. And you're all over the country speaking. You're a keynoter, and you're taking your books, and you got crowds waiting on you. And you're going to talk to us about Edu Marketing and your other baby, Mortgage Video Mastermind. I get that right. Where you go live every Friday at noon.
We do.
And you target mortgage professionals. But your Edu Marketing, first of all, how did you get started on all this?
Well, it's been, as you know, for most of us, we go on a journey, and that's the greatest thing, is going on a journey and finding your passion. And, you know, you talk about this all the time in your posts and what you're doing on your podcast, talking about, you know, finding that passion and not just finding it, but putting a voice to it. And so for me, my path to Edu Marketing has really been a journey in helping others to share their expertise. And that's what Edu Marketing is. It's using education to market and position yourself. So instead of just going out and selling and doing advertising and marketing, focusing on bringing value through education. And as a corporate trainer, I was a Dale Carnegie training consultant before I got into developing training in the mortgage industry. And so training is in my blood. And it's been a joy being able to find that. So it's really just taking what you know and sharing it.
Okay. So tell me, is your Jack Canfield book released? Has it been released yet?
Yes. So the Jack Canfield book was released in, let's see, 2018, I believe. 2018, 2019. I have to look back on when. I think it was 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, because I wrote my first book with Brian Tracy in 2012, and then a second book with him, which was in 2015. And I was delighted when he asked me to write a second book, and then had an opportunity to be a co-author with a book with Jack Canfield, and couldn't turn that one down. It's Jack, you know.
Jack. That's a no-brainer.
So that was a big dream for me to be able to do that. And again, you know, one of the greatest things you can do is to work with others, to be able to leverage what they know with what you know and share it together. And so really building that community. And that's one of the things that I've done with a lot of the books that I've co-authored, and also the documentaries that I've co-produced. So we co-produced a documentary for Folds of Honor which is a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships to the families of wounded and fallen soldiers. And I fell in love with their story and what they're about, was delighted to be a co-producer on the documentary, which was released in 2020, last year. July 4th, actually, was the release date. And so we were nominated for 3 Emmys, and we won 2 Emmys, won a Telly. And what's exciting about that is it really raised the awareness of the need to provide scholarships for the families of these wounded and fallen soldiers who, oftentimes when something happens for our military families where they are wounded, or in some cases where they lose their lives, and the families are left pulling it together, and Folds of Honor provides scholarships to those family members to help them to be able to bridge that gap of having education, not just a secondary education through college, but also helping families that may have children that need help with childcare.
So you worked on the promo video to promote that?
Yeah.
My
So,
mother would have loved that.
yeah. Oh, your mother would have loved that.
She
Absolutely.
would have loved it.
Yeah.
Just loved it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's a great organization, and that's really a lot of it. The projects that I've had an opportunity to work with, they've just spoken to me. And again, that whole passion speak. So, being open to those opportunities and finding those opportunities that resonate to who you are and what you're passionate about. And I've been fortunate to be able to find that, and to be involved in the mortgage industry for the past almost 20 years in helping to build education, consumer education, around getting a home, which is so valuable.
So now you have a group on Facebook, and all of that is in the header where we can look it up. The Mortgage Video Mastermind. And I've caught it probably because it always seems to be I seem to be on the go. But I'm like, the first few times I did catch it, I was like, this is some good stuff. So I'm not a mortgage professional, but can I apply any of that to just regular, just general curriculum, just any particular field?
Yeah, absolutely. I started the Mortgage Video Mastermind group to facilitate conversation about doing videos, whether you're a mortgage professional, real estate professional, a chiropractor, a coach, a consultant, whatever. It applies a lot of the same principles. And again, it goes back to sharing the knowledge that you know and sharing it with your business partners, sharing it with your potential clients, being able to help people understand whether it's a process, whether it's an application, whether it's anything in bettering themselves. Video is a great way to do it, just like we're having this conversation right now, to be able to have it, to record it, to go back and watch it. YouTube has been monumental in terms of providing education. And, I have a 27-year-old son, and if he gets anything new, he tosses the instructions and then he goes to YouTube and he searches for an answer. And so really the Mortgage Video Mastermind is just a discussion about how to create video. We have people on that talk about how they've done it, things to talk about. We talk about technology. We talk about best practices. We talk about storytelling. All of those things can apply no matter what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also a Dale Carnegie graduate from years ago. I won't say how many, but yeah, talking about storytelling, all that is key to getting your message across. And so I really appreciate that. Something that you put in all of your books, and I heard you say it somewhere, always pass on what you have learned.
Yes, always pass on what you have learned.
I love that. I love that so much. When I heard it, I was like, oh, I got to write that down.
Yeah.
That is so give us some other nuggets from your books, like some of your just favorites, because you have 5 bestsellers, right?
Yeah, so the books that I've written have all been business-based books, and some of them go through, storytelling lessons I've learned. In the first book that I wrote with Brian Tracy, I talked about, leveraging what you're doing with others in your community. And I told the story of when I first got started at Dale Carnegie. And the whole reason I started at Dale Carnegie is my husband had gone through their Sales Advantage course, and he was doing sales for the local newspaper. They put everyone through that course, and he had had monumental changes in his sales. And so at the end of the course, I was doing training at the time for telecommunications company. And he said, he goes, I think you might really like doing this. And so I said, Dale Carnegie, I mean, that's a great organization. I'll call and have a talk with them. And so I called the local branch manager in Oregon and asked just for an informational interview. And so they were kind enough to grant that to me. And they weren't hiring at the time, but I had asked them, what are you doing in terms of building into the tech community within Oregon? We have a big tech community here. And they hadn't really thought about it. And they said, well, we hadn't really thought about it. I said, well, why don't you bring me on and I'll help you do that? And so they did. And to build my territory, I really started with just one workshop. And so that's a lot of it. Again, using education to build your business, no matter who you are. And for me, getting started with Dale Carnegie, I went to the local chamber, and they're in an area that's a high-tech area. Intel is in there, Mentor Graphics, IBM, all these big companies. And so I went to the chamber and I said, probably one of the biggest challenges that companies that you serve have is giving presentations. I mean, it's the number one fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like people would rather go to the dentist than to give a speech. And so
Root canal.
I said,
Come me up
yeah,
for a
it's
root
like
canal.
most people are just so nervous about it. And so I said, I'll do a workshop for your members. And so they said, yeah, that'd be great. I said, well, you mark it out to your members. I'll do a workshop. And then I went to a local hotel and I said, there's all these tech companies around you that would probably send people that are traveling in from out of town that are coming in to see their, corporate headquarters would stay at your hotel. How about if we host the workshop at your hotel? And I said, give us a room and you can invite all your salespeople. They can attend the workshop also because they have to improve their presentation skills. And then I'll, give you an opportunity to talk at the end. So they said yes, and they gave us a free space for our workshop. So now I have got the chamber that's marking it out. I have no database, right? They have a database. I got the hotel to give us a room for free. And then I went to the local radio station and I said, hey, the local chamber's having me in to do a workshop and we're holding it at the Hilton. And, if you want to invite your salespeople to it and promote it out on your station, then I'll give you some time at the end and you can talk about the advertising on your radio station. And they said, that's great. So they gave me free 8 radio spots and they gave me time on the radio. I did a radio show with them. And then I went to the local newspaper and said the same thing and said, you can bring your salespeople. They all need to improve on their presentation skills. And they can talk at the end about the opportunity of advertising because we're going to have all these business owners there. And so they ran ads. So I really started my entire business with Dale Carnegie off of one workshop that cost me nothing. And I had no database at all. And so I started my entire business in Dale Carnegie from that one workshop, leveraging on giving. And from that workshop, I had the president of what was at that time the Oregon Graduate Institute, who attended the workshop, went through our 2-day public presentation workshop and became a huge fan and literally would call every tech company, the president, and say, you have to see Ginger. And we ended up doing Dale Carnegie courses at the university. And I mean, that's really it. So many times we don't think of leveraging and building that community and working together. And that's why I love what you're doing, because you're doing just that. You're building a community. You're providing people with a voice to be able to share with their expertise and their passion and all those things. And so that's the story I told in the book that I wrote with Brian Tracy, and how to build that, and how to go out starting with absolutely nothing to be able to build an entire business off of just giving. And, it's one of the things I taught to my son at a very young age. He's a 3-Palm Eagle Scout and is very involved in giving back. And I always taught him, there's 2 ways to give in life. You can give palm up, where you're giving something, but you're expecting something back in return. Or you can give palm down. When I went to the chamber, I had no idea if I was going to get something back. I said, I'll do a workshop. It's my time. And so I'm truly giving. And when you do that, when you give palm down, where you're giving and you're not expecting something back in return, then things come to you. That's that law of attraction, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. So that was the first book I wrote. And that's often what I write about in my books is, kind of telling a story, but using examples of how people can use that. Storytelling is one of the greatest things that we can do. So, if you're thinking about what you can do for a video, you want to think about, what's your story? What's your passion? And how can you share those nuggets? Again, always pass on what you have learned, good, bad, or otherwise. Those are all things to share, right?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I would encourage anyone to drop in on the marketing masterminds that you guys have. It's just full of nuggets, and it only runs like 20 to 30 minutes on Fridays at noon Eastern time.
Right. Yeah. And we always record them. So, you can always go back and watch one. We have special guests on. And again, I don't do it by myself. When I started doing it, I said, I don't want to do this by myself. And I pulled in 3 other people I know in the industry who are also great givers. And I said, hey, let's just do this together and we'll invite people on. And so I've been blessed to be able to, have people on. We'll have to have you on. You can talk about what you're doing and your podcast and everything. And that's it. It's just sharing. Whether you're in the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, or any other industry, it's about sharing.
Yeah, I do this because personally, I feel like when people talk about their passion, they don't have to prepare for it.
Right.
You can knock on them and knock on their door and say, hey, come and talk. And people are willing to do it. And they come and they share their story and they share what they love. And then it gives them great energy. And what comes from great energy? Great things. And then they pass it on.
Right.
And hopefully, it may be one person or maybe thousands of people. If you're sharing great energy, hopefully they share. And then exponentially, the momentum carries. And then, it counteracts some of the negatives that we have going on in the world. So
exactly.
I do get something out of it though, because I get to see people doing what they love. And I just believe that people don't get that opportunity often to have a stage to just talk about me and talk about what I love and talk about why I love it. And, you might have multiple passions. That's true. You might have one that you monetize. You might have one that you volunteer 100% for, like your mom. Or you might have one that you just harbor in your heart, but you don't do anything about it. Still a passion.
Exactly. Well, and you hear that in your voice. I love your messages that you post, because you always say, hello, loves. And I always feel so good when I see that, because it's like, I feel loved. It's like, that's an opportunity to open yourself up to that.
I appreciate that, because, I'm human, you human. There are times when I just want to say, no, I'm not saying nobody. It's been a bad night, but I feel like if I can start my day in a positive note, it may continue and my day might get right in line and I'll be, operating at full steam for the whole day. But I am so glad that you came on. Do you have any parting words for us?
I think no matter where you are in your life, if you're starting off with a new career, if you are ending a career and looking for that next stage, if you're not sure, what that passion is, to be quiet and listen. And oftentimes it will come to you. Don't force it, be open to it. And, things will come, and they may come in a way that you don't expect them to come. So, listening for those opportunities, and surrounding yourself with people that are positive and like-minded, I think is probably the most important thing you can do.
Oh, I appreciate that. I love that so much. Thank you, Miss Ginger.Bell, for
Thank
joining us. And thank you
you.
for whoever's watching. You have been watching Passion Speak, where we give those with a passion a platform to speak. And have a great evening.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. Bye.